It's the eve of America's collapse, and I'm here in a t-shirt and shorts playing Mario Kart. That sounds about right for a Twitch live stream. What do you guys think? You think that's about appropriate? I awakened from my slumber to discuss the fucking collapse of the West or something. And I don't mean it like all those chuds mean it, because the chuds will say the West is collapsing when they see a fucking brown person like walking on the other side of the sidewalk. And like when I say brown, we can be really generous with our interpretation. Fucking they would see an Italian from New York and think, "Oh my god, an immigrant." And shit themselves. Like, it doesn't even need to be a real immigrant. They will imagine one under every single rock. But then the actual collapse of the West comes in the form of tariffs. And they're like, haha, yes. Fuck me up harder, Trump. Daddy Trump and Elon or something. First time I opened your stream, my Twitch crashed. Big Twitch, big live stream doesn't want you to see this. Only thing I like about Cyberpunk is the anime that came out of it. I've heard some pretty good things about that, and I love Rebecca from that show. She's great. But I haven't seen it, so. Let's get online. The show is class conscious a little bit at least. That's good. That's nice. I took some time before stream started. I'm starting stream a little later today because I had work a little later today and had to come home and have lunch and stuff. But I did still take some time before stream started to go and look for... I guess I'll just be Mario. To go and look for some news like articles that pertain to the subject of discussion, just so I can remind myself of some of the facts of the matter that we're going to be encountering for the next several years, potentially decades. We were all saying that this was so idiotic of an idea on the left. If you're on the left, you know this. People on the left were all saying that the idea of imposing tariffs. How about the rest of our lifespan? Maybe that's possible too, but I don't want to get too spicy with that prediction. You know, we'll see. A lot of people on the left said that, like, tariffs would be so moronic, so idiotic, so self-evidently detrimental to literally everybody's interests in the United States, including the capital class, that the Trump admin would never do it. I was one such person. I was not immune from this. I believed this as well. I thought they weren't actually going to do it. They actually just fucking did it. Trump signed the I believe there was a tariff bill or something like that. I don't know if it had to be approved by Congress, but the U.S. has now committed to the implementation of tariffs. Trump signed it on February 1st, and it will go into effect on Tuesday. There is no backing out at this point. Understand this, like, up to and including Tuesday, there was a lot of speculation that Trump could have been, like, could have, like, backed out at the last moment, because until then, theoretically, it was still, like, kind of all talk. But no, now now it exists and has the force of law behind it, you know? So yippee, everything everywhere is gonna become more expensive. And, that's just what it is. Now the entire stock market is just a pump and dump scheme, even though it already is. Yeah, the stock market, here's the thing, right? The stock market is going to be affected by this, but ultimately, the people who have their wealth, like, tied up in the stock market and stuff, they don't care. And ultimately, there's another dimension to that, too, that they actually thought that this was going to work because they're fucking insane. But, like, this affects the real economy, right? There's a difference between the speculative, like, the pretend fake stock market economy and the real economy. And this affects the real economy. A lot of the billionaires, they are wrong in thinking that they will be insulated from this. But among the oligarchs, there was a perception that they would actually be immune from the consequences of this. Legitimately, they thought that, like, we can just destroy the whole world economy and it won't affect us. Or in some cases, they were actually dumb enough to believe that, like, no, this will be good, actually. You know? So now we get the fucking most disastrous, like literally the worst time and place to ever implement a package of economic tariffs. We get tariffs, right? And it's not going to fix anything that, like, any of the legitimate problems that we were experiencing from stuff like NAFTA and whatever. A lot of people don't really understand how tariffs work, and like, I totally understand that, like, it's not a self-evident concept, you know, but it's not good for a country like the United States to be doing tariffs. Find it funny how Republicans say we don't want a global economy, even though it already happened. Yeah, it's largely was a virtue signal until it wasn't, I guess, you know? Instead of busy spraying tariffs everywhere. That's true. That's pretty true. Trump is, in fact, doing that. The function of tariffs is this. For anybody who's, like, not fully cued in on what tariffs do, glad I downloaded the yes, no meme. I love that meme. Jojo is great. You should watch it. Tariffs do serve a legitimate function. Sometimes they always entail a degree of economic, well, hardship and, like, bumpiness, basically. I've read some studies on the effects of tariffs in what they call the Four Tigers, which would be South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Singapore. These were four countries that in the 20th century implemented tariffs to great success. They're now known to be, like, very economically prosperous within their region. But the reason it worked for them is precisely because they weren't already in that position. In a developing country, in a very backwater country, like these four countries were before they implemented the tariffs, an economic hit from tariffs would not be as bad as if foreign investment came in and effectively trapped your country in a debt trap. Like, picture another slew of third world countries that maybe did not implement strategies like this, implement policies like this for whatever reason, did not have certain disincentives from foreign investment from coming into the country, which in the short to intermediate term can be very bad for an economy, because you want there to be a lot of economic activity. You want the money to be flowing, generally speaking, in a market economy setting, right? Especially in a globalized economy. But if you get Western businesses investing in there, what you're likely to get, even if no previous colonization had happened beforehand, is you're likely to get a neo-colonial relationship out of that, where the businesses gradually start to, like, buy up your country precisely because they have a lot of money and you don't. And so eventually you just get the spot that a lot of third world countries are stuck in today, where a lot of their country's industry and land and whatever and wealth is owned by foreign businesses, and like, they just take it and mostly extract it out of the country into, like, offshore bank accounts and shit. You know, obviously some version of this exists in the world where, like, these countries implement tariffs as well, because capitalism. But, like, in the Four Tigers, right, when, you know, you do those tariffs as a third world country specifically, then you don't have, you know, the Western businesses and whatever might be a little bit less willing to invest there, which gives you room as like, you know, economic forces in that country, gives you room to build up industry domestically, build up production. While it might not be as good, over time you develop an industrial base, which gives you economic leverage and staying power, and will eventually lead to more prosperity for everybody, because there is more real economic activity happening both in your country and abroad, because you've added industry to the world. Does that make sense? that is the legitimate use case for something like tariffs. I mentioned that this is only useful in a country that isn't already prosperous and on top and doing that investment. The United States is in exactly the position that would benefit the least from the implementation of tariffs. Like, the only thing that tariffs, we're going to get all the downsides of tariffs like magnified up like immensely so, because the United States is trading partners in some capacity with every single country on the planet, not least of which the 3 countries we put tariffs on. And we don't have, like, there aren't any of the trappings of a third world nation where we are under threat from some sort of foreign investment that could turn the country into the debt trap, because we are the foreign investment that turns countries into debt trap. There's none of the positives to be gained from these tariffs, and there are all of the negatives, you know? The United States had nothing to gain from these tariffs and everything to lose. We're just gonna lose, especially when the countries that have been tariffed by us are our closest trading partners and are proposing their own countermeasures of economic protectionism so that they can still function with a greatly reduced trading partnership or relationship with the United States. Essentially, this is going to make everything more expensive for everyone everywhere, because everywhere has ties to the United States, and most of all, it is going to hurt the United States. Life is going to get worse, and that's it. And it didn't even benefit the rich fucking oligarchs that made the decision, because they're morons. Like, you know, they're looking out for their class interests when they see it, but like, they're dumb. They don't always see it. They've surrounded themselves with yes men. They've genuinely deluded themselves to the point that they think they're gods. Like Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, fucking Jeff Bezos, they think they're deities that walk the earth. They think they are immune from consequence. And so they're going to continue, they have continued to do more and more and more drastic, like, boneheaded shit that either concentrates wealth upwards or just deletes society entirely, until it is made clear that, like, no, actually, there are absolute consequences that occur as a result of your actions. And here they are, motherfucker. Media, this country... What? After this race, I'll try to get through some of the chats there. America will just refuse that it's a problem. Yeah. I mean, Trump is going to go out there and try to do the best he can to paper over the damage, but like, understand the kind of damage that this can cause. In a way, this is exactly what we were like what the left could hope for in an effort to build class consciousness. This is going to cause so much damage. This is going to make like economics everywhere so much worse that it will not be possible to attribute blame to anything other than the capital class here. Like Elon Musk and his rich tech bro friends and the oligarchs and Donald Trump and like all those people, the blame will lie squarely with them. And there is no, like, even the most irrational, I bet black people did this, will fucking unavoidably see the connection that, like, oh shit, the moment the tariffs happened, life got worse everywhere for everyone. Maybe it wasn't a good idea, you know? Because it's going to touch people directly in their wallets. They're going to start feeling that in a way that is, like, impossible to just explain away. Also, what's up, T? Stream sniping? Maybe. Donald Trump fooled the country out of, flooded a city out of spite. I don't know if he cares. And he doesn't care. But a lot of people that support him kind of do. You know? When they get hurt, really hurt, they're going to start knocking on the door asking for answers, probably. You know? And if they don't, they might just fucking die. You know? Or languish in poverty. Or whatever. It's not going to be good. What's up, 1v3? UK has kind of done this as well. Everything here is owned by foreign companies. We have barely any industry anymore. Yeah, that's part of the consequence. The UK and America suffer from this. I think America more so. America doesn't have very much production and industry like domestically, right? There aren't American businesses. There are businesses that operate in America and that are headquartered in America. But every American business that you could think of is an international business. They just have a presence in America. They have no qualms about just picking up and moving to like wherever else is like more profitable to do business, right? There are other countries that are still in a sort of stage of development that are not a global hegemons that have their own domestic industry. You know? You were supposed to exploit the indebted third world countries, not join them. That's so true. Can you imagine after everything you said and done, they're like, we changed our mind. We want liberalism. I don't want to, like, that would be funny, but, like, I don't want to, well, that's not true. I was going to say I don't want to burst anybody's bubble. Liberalism caused this. The systemic failures of the liberal system directly led to this crisis. There is a one-to-one, or like, there's an A to B to C direct progression of liberal crisis. Yeah, I got that from reading that. Like, there's a A to B to C, a direct progression that liberalism is a system where wealth can buy you influence. Thus, the more wealth you have, the more influence you have. Thus, the more influence you have, the more you can accrue wealth and influence. Over time, you get people who have virtually an infinite amount of wealth from this process. And as a result, they have an infinite amount of influence. And when they have an infinite amount of influence, that can't possibly be checked. And when they have completely unchecked influence and can do whatever they want, they're going to do something disastrous that results in this. Especially when the accrual of that wealth, it snowballs beyond a point that it can no longer be tied to any sense of merit or like general skill or ability, right? Like, you do not have to be intelligent or anything. In fact, it benefits you to be an inhuman, sociopathic sack of shit to become rich in this country or in any other country. So, with that pre-selection bias, of course you're going to get this. Liberalism caused this. Liberalism created the fascist government that handed the keys to the kingdom to the billionaire class and just let them run amok. Legitimately, I think the only way that you get a resolution to a crisis caused by tariffs brought on by a completely unaccountable owning class is socialism. There has to be some sort of reckoning with the material factors that cause this. You have to eliminate the rot at its source so that it can't produce this again. Why does it feel like we're in Star Wars and Palpatine just got elected? Well, let's just say that art imitates life and life imitates art. Is it funny that some liberals are like, late-stage capitalism? They laugh at the idea that it could possibly ever end, but the median voter hates socialism. They don't have to, like, call it socialism, but it, like, a post-capitalist world exists because it must exist because capitalism inevitably destroys itself. It's full of contradictions that eats society alive. You know? Think about, like, what I just described. The billionaire class surrounding themselves with yes men, accruing infinite power and influence to such a point that they create a legitimately, like, society-destroying tariff package at the behest of Donald Trump. And like, as a result, the interests of the class that rules society is going to destroy the entire society, like, along with them. You know? That is what I mean when I say, like, capitalist society destroys itself. It has to. There is no, like, this is the logical end state of all capitalist society. Disastrous, like, stupid shit, like, done by people with no accountability and infinite wealth that just makes life worse everywhere for everyone, you know? The only way that you don't have this is if you don't have that system. If you have a different system with different incentives. Let's call it Y2Kism. So true. Yeah, I'm inventing this new ideology, and as is the case with all the most humble theorists of history, I'm naming it after myself, called Y2Kism, where we organize the economy democratically, where the American worker will take charge, and all the unelected oligarchs will have their wealth taken away from them, so they can't all ruin our lives again and again and again for no recourse. You know? You could even call it Americanism. Truly, an ode to you know, American patriots or some shit. I don't know, dude. You get the idea. Please give us Y2Kism. Sad some people think if you don't want power, that must mean you want power. Yeah, it's a truly backwards notion that, like, oh, you're just opportunistic and want power. It's pure projection, because a system that has better incentives than this is one where any given person doesn't have as much power. Like, anybody who's saying that, like, all the fucking right-wing foot soldiers who say that kind of shit, they're just as powerless. And, like, they're defending the people who have all the power from people who have no power. It's so fucking wacky. Anyone saying it's just socialism is clearly lying. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we call it Y2Kism because, you know, at the turn of the century, everything just started getting worse. So what if things didn't get worse, actually? What if we made them better? And, you know, that means no more goodies for the corporations sometimes. And, you know, you're not allowed to be a billionaire because that shit is dumb. Remember one time seeing a movie in high school about a black girl going to school and a bunch of racist were protesting it. Is it funny some people who hate Palpatine have the same ideology? Yeah, in a way, you know, there's a contradiction there where a lot of people love Star Wars, myself included, and they're like, yeah, obviously the Empire is the bad guy because Palpatine is an authoritarian dickhead, you know. But their ideology in real life, like they're Republicans. They watch Star Wars and they're like, yeah, obviously the rebels are the good guys and the Empire are the bad guys. But then their ideology in real life mimics that of Palpatine. And I think that's just because there's a level of abstraction with art. People view it as a fantastical enough setting that they can superimpose the notion that it's, like, fundamentally doesn't operate on the same kind of rules as real life. Which the point of Star Wars was that at a political level and material level, it's still a world full of people. Imagine if Star Wars had social media. Cursed timeline. Truly cursed. Kind of working class person who just endlessly kisses the asses of rich people thinking they'll eventually be like them. Yeah. It's the whole temporarily embarrassed millionaire / billionaire mindset. All those people simps? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and, like, there's gonna be a massive amount. This actually, because we're talking about the kinds of people who are you know, typically, like, want to defend stuff like this. And bottoms, that's true. Simps and bottoms. Maulding right now on the right, you know? We were just talking about, like, the kind of people who would defend stuff like this, despite the fact that it's just fucking plundering the country. I'm a bottom and I don't support fascism. It's okay, one of the good ones or something. Bottoms against fascism. We should form a support group. Either the frustrations are going to mount or they're not. But at some point, there's going to be an ideological, like, contradiction. Like, it's going to come to head. Where a lot of the people who are like, yeah, you know, Trump is going to make America great. And then, like, the Fell For It Again awards are going to pile up enough that we're going to start having to just be really, really fucking mean to them. Because that actually works. Like, from a pragmatic perspective, convincing people of, like, what we're actually experiencing right now and how we gotta, like, work our way out of / through this. Like, you gotta hammer in, like, dog, you wanted this, you know? And not from a whole, like, you're racist, you're sexist, you're like, just call them slurs or something. Like, I don't care. This is not real advice. I'm trying to illustrate a point. Be mean, be spiteful to, like, the fucking Trump supporters or right-wingers who thought that this was a good idea, because it so obviously and evidently wasn't, that everybody should have known better, including them. And, like, also just because being mean, being spiteful, calling somebody a dumb asshole loser who makes things worse for everybody, including themselves, actually works to get people to change their mind. It sounds kind of weird, but I've also read the literature on this. Ostracizing people and chastising them, like, harshly, in like, very profane language, like, like, just calling somebody a fucking moron who's ruining the party and, like, telling them get out and cutting them off does a lot to make them reconsider their beliefs. Because a lot of the MAGA movement, a lot of the far right, is based on a sense of parasociality. They just want to be a part of something. And they found that something, a lot of times, in the MAGA movement. They're already, like, not that connected to each other. All conservatives have, basically, is the MAGA group identity, specifically in juxtaposition to the leftists and liberals in their lives. When they lose that, when they lose the connection to other people, they don't have anything anymore. And they have to reconsider that. They're what you say, parasites? Yeah. Yes, they are parasites. You know, they get off. They truly, the Trump supporter and the far right individual gets off on the notion of causing immense pain and suffering in a way that makes them seem imposing and scary. So communicate it to them in the way that makes them seem like a little grubby, dumbass loser that has no friends, is sweaty, smells bad, etc. And they're gonna be like, oh, well, that was hurtful. Yeah! You know, be hurtful to them. They're Pennywise. You know, kind of. Just fucking bully them relentlessly. They deserve to be bullied for supporting a policy like this. And ultimately, again, it sounds like I'm being spiteful for its own sake. But from a pragmatic perspective, this helps to make them reconsider their beliefs, to change their mind. That makes the fascists lose public support. It makes the current property order, it makes the current political and economic order lose public support. Even in the most stringent dictatorships of all time, they have not been able to survive a steady and sustained decline and deterioration of public support. Dictators, more so than democratic politicians, you know, small d democratic, need the approval of the public in order to remain in power. You know, democracies can get by pretty all right with a lot of people disapproving of the system at large and of most of the politicians operating within it, because they have like freedoms and like there are ways in which society is capable of stabilizing itself, because there's more like bottom up sort of political power. Maybe not much in a liberal democracy, but it's something, you know? Yeah, emphasis on the small d. We're not talking about the Democratic Party here. Shit-ass political party. The two-party system helped them with that, because if you hate this side, you should pick the other. Help who? The far right? Yes, it did. The two-party system was a great benefit to the Republicans here, especially because, like, the Democratic Party was also, like, really is beholden to the same set of capital interests of the Republicans. But particularly what I want to highlight is that, like, the Republicans very frequently were able to just bludgeon the Democrats, and the Democrats were like, no, well, you know, I guess, sure, whatever. They didn't fight back. So yeah, the fact that there was only one other opponent, and that opponent was liberals, really helped them. You know? Also, I'm racing like a fucking gamer today. I'm playing sick nasty somehow. Dr. Mario winning too easily, yeah. Republicans would hate superheroes if they were real? Possibly. I've explained some of my issues with superheroes and superhero media. But a lot of superhero media does include them, like, not hating brown people. So yeah, they'd probably hate them. Let's check out some of these news articles to see the details on these tariffs. And also one other thing, that you know, the business plot occurring in the United States. Was that GCN Bowser's Castle? Okay, I didn't get to open all these, like... Sure, I'll do 2 Reuters articles on this. Yeah. I don't think I'll be able to pull these up like on my screen and be able to look at them until after this race, but yeah. I do have some articles on both on the tariffs that the United States implemented on Canada and Mexico, as well as the like economic countermeasures that Canada and Mexico took. To give a brief recounting of events, the tariffs have been signed into law, I think. Not super familiar with the proceduralism of it up close, but the tariffs are set to go into effect on Mexican, Canadian, and Chinese goods, and it's going to take effect on Tuesday. They've already been signed. There's no backing out now, and in response, the leaders of Canada and Mexico, our 2 biggest allies, by the way, 2 of our closest allies, conferred and talked and had conversations and decided on a retaliatory strategy to basically not impose a set of counter tariffs on American goods, but to also do some other stuff to encourage domestic production and consumption. Basically try to kindle the flames of their own internal economics, so that the tariffs wouldn't hit them as hard, or so they could weather them a little bit better, and basically prepare for a longer economic term where they weren't able to do business with America without like these tariffs being in effect. And then behind the scenes, there's also been some other stuff happening. People might have seen this. Apparently, Elon Musk has been trying to gain access to like the fucking treasury, like, which is where all the money for everything in the United States doled out at the federal level comes from. Like, they're in charge of saying, okay, this money goes here, this money goes here, this money goes here. Like, they actually hand out the money, you know? Like, legitimately potential for some disastrous fucking consequences there. And not as good of a race, that race, but that's fine. 5th? What? How? Funny how fast Republicans are dealing with their plan, but Democrats take forever. Yeah, because Democrats are abstemious liberals who reflect the decline of the system that they represent. And Republicans are fascists, aka worse liberals, who are active in hastening that decline. Does that make sense? And also the Democrats are like managed opposition, because both Republicans and Democrats answer to the owning class, the billionaire class. And since the Democrats are the left, the leftmost of the two. They nominally want to do good things, but billionaires hate it when you do good things, so they put a lot of pressure on the Democrats to make them never do good things. And the Democrats just roll with it because they answer to the billionaires. Yeah, you got access to the money vault. Needs a nerf, yeah. Yeah, rich America needs to be nerfed. When are we getting the next fucking major update? The last major update was in the fucking 1770s with the genesis of liberalism. We need a new patch. We need a new system patch to America. We need to patch out the fucking billionaire infinite wealth exploit. Reality would make a good X-Men show. It very well might. Ah, yes, Reuters. Trump says Americans could feel pain in trade war with Mexico, Canada, and China. Okay. Trump said on Sunday the sweeping tariffs that he's imposed on Mexico, Canada, and China are 3 biggest trading partners, by the way. Yeah, what the fuck? What are we paying the devs for? Come on, update your game, dude. The sweeping tariffs may cause, quote, some pain for Americans. So then it wasn't going to make industry bigly and strongly and betterly. Okay. His plan was just suffer, I guess. As Wall Street and the largest U.S. trading partners signaled hope that the trade war would not last long. I think the longer this goes on and the more destructive it is for the United States, the better. Because if Trump backs out, he gets the reputation. He does get the reputation as a like really, really weak president and like all that sort of stuff. A weak political figure. But I genuinely don't think the news media would capitalize on it at all to do any sort of messaging or narrative crafting, specifically because the media is all bought and paid for by the same class that Trump is bought and paid for and is a part of, and the same class that owns both the Democratic and Republican parties, and so on and so on and so on. You know what I mean? Like, this needs to hit hard enough that every American knows exactly who fucking stabbed them in the stomach. Third, not bad. Trump began his second term on January 20th. Thank you, Reuters. Nobody knew this. Defended the tariffs that he announced on Saturday. Canada and Mexico said they were working together to face the 25% U.S. duties on imports. 25%! You guys have any idea how hard that's going to reverberate down the line? That's not just 25% more expensive. That's 25% plus whatever percentage each middleman at each stage of the process puts on top. And in an economy as complex as the United States economy and the world economy, with as many middlemen as we have, we could be looking at like an order of magnitude, potentially more than 25% price increases on stuff. You know, at the very least, I would say something like 40 to 50% is going to be a pretty typical price increase on any given thing that's subject to duties and tariffs in an economy as large and complex as the US. You know, this is gonna fucking hurt. Which promised to jolt the integrated economies of the 3 North American countries that have had free trade agreements for decades. Yeah, I mean, jolt, getting stabbed multiple times, what's really the difference? They're really underselling this, I think. Some people are like, yeah, everything's fine. Trump's going to make a great economy. We have about, like, 2 days for that illusion to keep up. Like, 1.5, actually. The rest of today and tomorrow. Again, this is one of those things where it is legitimately like... it's legitimately like you went and stuck your hand in the fucking poisonous spider box, you know? You have to, like, realize, oh shit, I'm getting bitten by 1,000,000 poisonous spiders, and pull your hand out of there, you know? Because otherwise you just don't have a hand anymore, basically, you know? But it does, like, ultimately, you don't you don't even get, like, there's not even anything salvageable if you don't feel the pain of a million spiders biting you. I apologize to anybody who's arachnophobic in the audience, but that is the first thing, like, I tried to just come up with something that sounded really unpleasant. Because that's about how unpleasant this is going to be, probably. The apology video? Dude, can you imagine the Donald Trump, like, YouTube gamer apology? That would be amazing. How funny would that be if the backlash were actually so large that, like, Trump has to issue a gamer apology for his actions? Holy shit, that would be funny. It might not be the best timeline because there's the potential for him to, like, evade accountability or whatever, like, again. But the Donald Trump gamer apology would go crazy, I think. No, I've made a lot of bad decisions on that turn. It's okay, though. Ow. Give me that. Yay. Do you imagine if I bounced over that? We would have stuck. Give me item, thank you. No, damn it. Ah, okay. Hit the wall. I've made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment. Yeah, so who was that? Who was that said the severe and continuous lapse in judgment? Was that Logan Paul? So entertaining to watch all Americans suffer from Trump until I realized we got even more narcissistic goofballs at power over here. Yeah, Logan Paul, okay. It's not just going to be Americans. That's the thing. The interconnectedness of the American economy is going to make it so that, like, okay, yeah, after that thing in Japan in the suicide forest or whatever. The Netherlands is going to be affected by this. The EU is going to be affected by this. Everybody is going to be affected by this. Even if tariffs were only put on China, Mexico, and Canada. The US does a lot of business with all three of those countries, and there is so much shit that is made in China. Like, this isn't just going to be limited to America and those countries. This is going to have impact for anybody that has an interaction with any of those countries at any point in the process. Like, there's such a big, complicated web that, like, you tugging down really hard on one part of it. Like, imagine there's a net. You've picked 3 of the strongest links and tugged on them as hard as you can to pull it down. That's going to affect every point in that net. Yeah, basically everything on the planet. Yeah, it's just, yeah, you know what? Yeah, like a spider web. You know, there's a spider web in the box, and you just fucking tugged on the spider web in the box, and now, like, the web is getting dragged down. It's almost broken. All the spiders are mad at you, and they're all gonna start biting you. You motherfucker, you deserve to get your hand bitten, and you deserve for it to hurt, right? Like, that's the only way that you're not gonna just die to a bunch of poisonous spiders who were pissed at you, like, coming into their spider web and messing up all their shit. How would Spider-Man help his community in Donald Trump's fascism? I don't know. It's been a while since I read Spider-Man stuff. He'd probably, like, go and volunteer at the food bank or something. He seems like that kind of guy. DayE114, welcome to chat. Do you think humans are fundamentally good in nature? I don't think so necessarily. I think there is at a fundamental level, humans are capable of really good things and really bad things. I'm more, like, blank slate pilled, that humans are born as basically, like, blank slates that can be impressed upon by the environment that they grow up in, and a lot of the social impetus of good or bad in like mindset and ideology and ethics, whether or not somebody is good or bad, is, I think, mostly determined by factors in their upbringing, more so than anything. Yeah, at the most basic level, humans are human. You know, you can learn the right things or the wrong things, but ultimately those things mostly do need to be learned. Although I do think that there is in most people there is an innate bias towards self-preservation and the preservation of the in-group and the perception, at least in part, of all of humanity as that in-group. Those biases kind of exist, although there can be a lot of points where those biases start to contradict each other, like self-preservation at the expense of the rest of the group, if that makes sense. So, blank slate, kind of. What we consider to be good or bad is a social construct, not to sound Joker-pilled. It is. In the universe, absent of any moral agent to come up with the concept of right or wrong, there is no right or wrong. Right or wrong is what any given person with that concept imagines it to be, right? And that's not me trying to be a moral relativist, but I am a moral anti-realist, you know? I don't think that there's an innate moral truth to the universe or whatever. But I do believe that, like, obviously, like, yeah, there are good things and bad things in the context of, like, I want to live and I want other people to live. And, you know, that's good, I think. But if somebody were to say, like, I disagree, actually, I want everybody to die and suffer and die again and get stabbed 1 million times, because whatever, I can't refute that. Like, you know, like, it's so basic that I can't refute it. There's nothing for me to say nuh-uh, because it's like, I don't know, maybe they just believe that. You know what I mean? Humans are good and bad, but not both at the same time. Well, you try to be good, be 50-50, or at least in some ways. I'm not sure if I agree, but either way, I think it just comes back to what I was saying earlier, that, like, humans are capable of both. And I think it's possible to do good and bad things that, like, contradict each other and whatever. I would be against that person, personally. We would just have to stop him. Yeah, and that's how societies, like, well, that's how you enforce a commonly agreed upon sense of ethics, is that everybody, as part of the social contract, more or less agrees, okay, these things are good and these other things are bad. We might disagree on stuff outside of that, but we all agree on that. So anybody that violates that, to play devil's advocate, literally, do you know that killing people and stabbing them a bunch is bad? Yes, I do know that, because it violates one of my moral axioms that people living and having good lives and not dying is good, actually. How? I just explained how. Because at an axiomatic level, at a fundamental level, I believe that human flourishing and humans living and being happy and such is good. And somebody getting stabbed is contradictory to that. You know, that's pretty bad. You know, like, to give an example. How... What? I meant, how do you know I didn't type it right? What? I'm not sure I understand what you're asking. Give me that mushroom. Yeah, I'm confused, I'm not gonna lie. Oh, I meant, how do you know killing is bad? Well, I just explained that. It is an axiomatic belief that people living is good. So by contradiction, people dying is bad. But, you know, death by natural causes is a part of life. But when people are killed, that's bad. And that's an axiomatic position. You know, you can't go any further back than that. Why do you believe that? Because, you know, yeah, that's what an axiom is. Like, I believe human life is good. Can I justify that? No. Because it's an axiom. That's like the most basic moral level that you can deal with, you know? It's like saying good things are good. And there's like, well, how do you know that good things are good? Well, because they're good. You know, you can't really, like, when you get to the most basic level of that, you can't justify or in either case refute a claim like that. Like, if somebody were to say, to an axiomatic position, I disagree, I wouldn't be able to refute them. I would disagree, and I'd be like, wow, you're fucking evil. You believe that death and suffering are good just because. But I can't refute that. Because there's no, like, you can't go any further back to justify or refute it, right? Like, if somebody says, I believe XYZ policy is good, but then the underlying justification is that because it will benefit people and make their lives better, you can refute that on the grounds of what outcome it has. You know? But if you say, I disagree, I don't think people benefiting is good, then you can't really refute that. That's what I mean by, like, I'm a moral anti-realist. Because, like, yeah, they're wrong, but they're wrong from my ethical perspective of not being an evil bastard that loves suffering, you know? This has been basic philosophy discussion with Y2K. Thank you. Tune in for more bangers, please. I don't think there's morals in the universe. They're just opinions. Yeah, fundamentally, you know, that's all it is. But I don't think somebody, like, having I'm a moral anti-realist, but not a moral relativist. Just because I don't believe that morals are any innate characteristic in the world, that doesn't mean that I think that somebody having an axiomatic difference of opinion is valid just because, like, there is no innate moral truth or whatever. You know, like, if somebody, like I mentioned, you have that really basic disagreement, I'm still going to call them dumb and stupid and evil. Like, one such person, I believe, is Aristotle? It was either Aristotle or Hegel. One of the two, like, it was a very well-known philosopher, actually did argue in some of their work that hierarchy was a fundamental good to the existence of humanity because there are some groups of people that must experience suffering in order to keep them in line. The position is the justification for itself. Like, you can't go... Hegel, I think? Yeah, okay, that sounds like something Hegel would have believed. You know, where, like, if you could find a way that society could exist without hierarchy and benefit the peasantry and those who would be, you know, the unwashed masses, they still wouldn't like it because they don't think that it is good for the unwashed masses to prosper. You know, that's an axiomatic belief and difference of opinion where I would look at Hegel and be like, smart guy, also evil. You know? Sounds like an argument from a dictator. Well, he was an idealist and believed in the resolution of the dialectical fork in the coming of the German state. Like, bro literally believed that the German Empire was like God's will manifest on Earth or some shit. He believed some kooky shit. Like, you can say things to show why you think someone's beliefs are right or wrong, and then the other person can decide if they agree, but no one got everything 100% figured out, or at least 99.99%. Yeah, like, most people don't really... Most people make their decisions and like, in like, situations where they want to do the right thing. For a lot of people, the right thing is based off of vibes, you know? But those vibes are determined by the social environment that we grow up in, and certain... present, if sometimes contradictory, biases that are cooked into our brains. You know? Which is why in the past people thought racism was a good idea. Yeah. There were plenty of people that would have potentially otherwise had, like, a coherent ethical framework that would have argued in defense of racism because that, like, from their perspective, were like they were dealing with, like, a fundamentally different kind of problem or whatever. Anyways, look, I'm here. I know I'm here to talk about politics and stuff, and obviously the politics the philosophy that I've just talked about is political in nature, you know, because, like, we mentioned Hegel, and that guy was one of the ideological forefathers of the Nazis. But what I really wanted to talk about was the tariffs. Because that shit is going to be, like, what? Welcome to the rest of your life, basically. Are you enjoying the nothing ever happens? Well, I'm sorry to say the show's over, because something did in fact happen. You know, the nothing ever happens bros are in shambles. Don't you know everything leads to the pipeline of communism or fascism? It is kind of crazy how those are, like, the only two real ideologies right now. Like, liberalism is a dead ideology, or at very least a ideology in the throes of death as we speak. Like, fascism is saying, like, let's light everything on fire even harder and make life even worse because we hate brown people or something. And communism is, hey, you remember those, like, liberal philosophers that argued for freedom and liberty and democracy and the rights of man? That's pretty cool, I think. We should address some of the flaws of the systems that they created so that we can actually better realize that, instead of, like, giving infinite wealth to the dumbest fucks on the planet for them to tell everyone that brown people are bad and then fuck a country raw for 10 years or more. And, you know, safe to say, from the way I've described these ideologies, I do have a preference, you know, and it's not for the one that says brown people are bad, and that, you know, infinite wealth should be given to one guy. Crazy take, I know, coming from me, the guy with socialist aesthetics and colors all over his channel. What would Magneto think if he was in real life? Well, he would probably be doing terrorism right now. What am I looking at here? Model gauging the impact of Trump's tariff plan from EY. I don't know what EY is, but an economist analyzed this, suggests it would reduce economic growth by 1.5 percentage points this year? Holy shit, that's bad. Throw Canada and Mexico into recession and usher in stagflation. High inflation, stagnant economic growth, and elevated unemployment at home. This is like the fucking oil crisis on steroids, dude. I know 1.5 percentage points doesn't sound like much, but understand the kind of implications we're talking about here, right? First of all, growth rates in most healthy economies are pretty, at least they sound like they're pretty low. Anywhere from 1 to 3 percentage points, per year is considered in the modern neoliberal economy a healthy rate of growth. A contraction in the economy is really bad. Line going up, the economic growth of a country is not always indicative of good stuff, but economic contraction is always indicative of bad stuff, you know? And because this guy's an economist, right? First of all, there are two biases that play into him potentially lowballing how bad this number could be, right? A chief economist that is able to get into, talk to, and increasingly captured news circuit is likely to be right-wing and therefore conservative, and be more, like, willing to massage some of the data and sort of have some sort of biases that would lead them to say, okay, so this will probably be okay, you know, or be, like, more charitable towards Republican policymaking. That is a factor, but I think a bigger factor is fundamentally that this guy, being an economist, is a social scientist. He deals in the social sciences, and there is no group of people the government takes less seriously than social scientists, you know, in their policy recommendations. Even though social scientists every time have said the same fucking thing about the same fucking issues and been right every time, government still doesn't listen to them. So, you know, one of the ways that they try to get the government to listen sometimes is they'll play down the alarming aspects of their language, of their predictions. They'll try to make things sound less bad than they are, try to make themselves sound as measured and moderate as possible so as to not immediately polarize governments against them. That 1.5 percentage points could be a reflection of those biases. And thus, we could be, in reality, that number could be considerably higher than a 1.5 percentage point, like, decrease of the rate of growth or whatever. So the fact that they even felt comfortable with those biases predicting as much of a decrease in growth of 1.5 percentage points is fucking huge. When you don't get growth, you get exactly what they described. You get stagflation, economic stagnation, massive inflation. Nobody has an incentive to like engage with the economy because nobody can, you know? All of the worst economic crashes in history exhibited the markers of what these this economist is describing, you know? Trump made so Dr. King Day is not recognized anymore. Yeah, I did see that. Republicans hate sharing is caring because if they believed it, they wouldn't like rich people. True, sharing is communism, but like unironically, and that's why Republicans hate it. It's going to happen in the future where people are going to go to their insurance and they're going to file for bankruptcy immediately when disaster breaks. Yeah, we've already seen that happening in various instances. Part of the reason that, like, one of the things that has heralded, like, some of the decline of capitalism is the revelation just how fucking predatory insurance companies have been and how, like, how vulnerable and economically naked most people are. Like, think about how insurers have been fucking pulling out of the whole state of Florida. Florida, one of the biggest and, like, until recently, fastest growing, most economically, like, prosperous states in the whole country. And insurers, all of them were like, nah, we got to get out of here because we don't want to insure people. And all of the fucking climate disasters and shit are going to make it so that we actually have to pay out on some of these policies. So they just noped out of there. Same thing in LA. What did the insurance companies do? They tried to, like, cancel people's fire coverage as the fires were happening. And the government in LA, like not just in LA, in California, had to send out, like, laws. They had to make laws so that it was like, no, if somebody lost some shit because of the fire, you have to pay out to them. They had to make a law for that because they knew that the insurance companies weren't going to pay up. You know? Insurance companies love nothing more than to just take people's money and run. And whenever economic disaster hits, they're part of that bubble. People are going to realize, oh shit, I don't actually have access to any of that money I've been paying in because the insurance are just going to take it and, like, hang me out to dry, you know? And that causes panic, and that means the bubble's going to pop, economy collapses in conjunction with all the other bubbles popping and stuff, you know? We've seen this before. It's interesting in my experience. A lot of people real far on the left and real far on the right come to the same conclusions, but in opposite connotations. Have you seen this? Yes, but only if you'll pardon me being uncharitable, only if you're dumb and don't actually understand what's being said. A lot of people who would say things that sound like some far-right bullshit that describe themselves on the far left are just far-right psyops or tankies that, like, simp for authoritarianism that isn't done in the United States. But on another level, to be more charitable, it is definitely a saying that anti-Semitism is just the stupid man's anti-capitalism. A lot of people on the far right really don't fucking like capitalism. The difference is, when people on the left critique capital and critique the current system, what they are doing is fundamentally pointing out the hierarchy that produces these conditions to begin with and the systemic flaws that pervade the whole system, irrespective of any group of people or any individual, you know, interests that are amorphous and whatnot, in a way that is addressable and not meant to be any part of some sort of weird psychosexual set of grievances. On the right, it's exclusively grievance politics, and they're saying, like, yeah, fucking, we're getting rat fucked. You know, they'll say, like, the economy's getting rat fucked or whatever, but then on the right you'll have, and it's because of those Jews and immigrants coming from the southern border and Hamas and whatever. And then on the left they're like, yeah, we're getting rat fucked because corporations are union busting, the workers have no power, and, like, all the wealth is being transferred upwards, which is hollowing out small town America and like, just America in general, and nobody can afford to live anymore. And the billionaires are pitting everybody in the working class against each other, so that people don't realize that happened. That's the difference. Burn shell shotgun? Okay, like, ow. I deserve that, probably. It's literally said systems don't have problems, it's people. Yeah, yeah, conservatives will do that. Because at a fundamental level, a lot of conservatives like the hierarchy that enables them to feel like they're superior to the person next to them, you know? And that's some, like, brain rot that needs to be rooted out of their skull entirely. You know? That's why you need to call them a useless fucking dumb moron loser. You know? Ostracizing people like that does actually make them reconsider their beliefs, because a lot of the group membership of the far right is just that, group membership. They want to feel like they're a part of a social group. And if you cut them off from that like sense of belonging and whatever, then the whole point is moot. Because like I said, a lot of people's beliefs are not that well informed, and obviously the left has a bias towards like people being more educated. People who are more educated tend to be on the left, and people who are on the left tend to be better educated than those in the center or on the right. That's like, you can get, a lot of people could get mad at me for saying that, but I'm only saying things that are reflected in the facts of the world. Like, there's hard data on this. We should weaponize that knowledge that educated people will go with us. Not necessarily, right? You shouldn't use it as an argument that we're smart. You should just be smart and make smart arguments. If that makes sense. Because the right fucking hates when people are smart. Or when people behave like they're smart. You know? They just fucking call you an ivory tower cuck or something. And in some cases are not entirely wrong. You know? It's been a definite lack of coordination and messaging on the left for a long time. Would you say we ever really recovered from the 2008 recession? In a material sense, probably not. Like, I'm going to be honest. In the economic growth statistics and productivity and whatever, the United States did recover much quicker than any other country. But the increasing presence of pump and dumps and crypto scams and whatever, as well as the increasing rents that are going up and up and up, well beyond people's ability to actually pay for it, and the wages clearly not matching that, and the wealth disparity only growing larger, I think makes it clear that in real economic terms, the United States did not recover from 2008. In fact, a lot of that recovery, was just, fake pretend bullshit. Like, we were able to pretend very convincingly to the world that we recovered from the 2008 financial crisis because there was a lot of speculative investment that basically made up the difference after the fact. Does that make sense? Yeah, Xylan's right. Just call them a fucking nerd and a loser. And sweaty. And stinky. People on the far right hate being called stinky. Like stinky losers. Because that's exactly the stereotype that they project onto all brown people. Yeah, McDonald's ass recovery. Did you see how long he got mad at crowds being empty from the election already ended? Yeah, that really got to Trump. That really got to his ego. One of the rare gems from the Harris campaign. That was, excised when the DNC took the reins after the convention, They could have stayed with their fucking weirdos line, We had a few glorious days. There were a few very rare, very incredible days of the political newsfeed where there were story after story of Republicans being weird, being called weird by the Democrats for once, in a rare show of actual messaging capability, and them trying to say, no, we're actually normal. Look how normal we are. And then anything they did just made them look even fucking weirder, For 2 or 3 days, we had that, and it was so, it was a vision into what could have been. But then the DNC took the reins and were like, no, that's too mean. Calling them weird losers is too mean. And then they stopped. They stopped doing every single fucking rhetorical tactic that worked to mobilize people to the left. Because they knew that their job is not to build a broad, like, political coalition. Their job is to operate in politics in a way that is compatible with the class that supports them, which is the business class. And if you build a broad, bottom-up coalition on the left that is able to command cultural and political capital at a mass media scale, you have successfully endangered in a very real way the interests of business capital. And they didn't want that. They would have rather lost than won that way. And they claimed Biden would win. Yeah, it's genuinely insane. Given some of the stuff, some of the data that leaked after the election that showed how badly Biden was projected to lose, insane. It feels like they took her to a room and they're like, if you don't stop, we're going to kill you. You know what? Maybe. And like, whatever they do, it's probably like, will end your fucking political career. They probably have a lot of dirt on everybody. But also with people like Kamala Harris, she's a pretty vacuous and uncharismatic person. So I don't know how hard a time they would have had. But like, for anybody, if we're assuming a more or less like actual person, then yeah, they would probably take you to the back room and be like, all right, look, bucko, you either get with our program and you parrot the party line of nothing will ever change at a systemic level or whatever, or we fucking bury you with like a million scandals. Yeah, legitimately, if you don't stop, your family's gonna get hurt really bad. You know, like some mafia shit. Whoa, what happened to that guy? But yeah, now we've got tariffs. Yeah, that guy fucking died or something. Now we have a sweeping tariff package that's going to literally hurt everybody for no fucking reason. You know? And even the most moderate predictions from economists are like fucking disastrous. If you don't stop, you're getting deepfaked. Underrated threat. Liberals like Shuon Head are like, we'll go on and win the next election. I don't know if Shuon Head has said that, but I don't know. I mean, she's a liberal. She's actually, Shuon Head is less of a liberal than any, like, Democrat that you could pick out of the bunch, except for maybe Tim Walz, because she's populist. And she's like, Democrats like legitimately have a categorical objection for the reasons I outlined. Democrats actually have a like ideological objection to doing voter outreach and building that broad base of support, because the more bottom up support that they build for a nominally left or liberal party, the more they endanger the interests of capital. Or the more they present a threat to it rather than being a steward of it. You know? With only 2 days before implementation, the tariffs look likely to take effect, though last-minute compromise cannot be completely ruled out. Goldman Sachs economists said in a note on Sunday. Probably copium, but like not an unreasonable degree of copium. Like last-minute compromise, maybe. Otherwise, we get fucked. I haven't gotten dry ruins yet. He added that since the White House has set very general conditions for the removal, the levies are likely to be temporary, but the outlook is unclear. I suppose Shuonhe didn't learn from January 6th? Probably not. I mean, she's got enough brain rot that she might buy into some of the, like, the narratives that they didn't do anything wrong or whatever. I don't know. Look, I don't watch that, like, Shuonhe stuff. Investors look ahead. Yay, we got Dry Dry Ruins finally. My favorite track in the game. Yes! I'm so good at this track. Then, that Reuters article didn't have much beyond that. It was like, yeah, the tariffs are going to be fucking bad. And, you know, we interviewed some economists, and they were like, all of them were like, please God, don't let this happen. It would be so fucking bad. Please don't let it happen. Oh my God, oh my God. And then Reuters was like, so, like, maybe it won't happen because it would be really, really bad if it happened. But, I don't know. So, you know, that's what's what on that. That was a really sketchy sand hop, but I made it work. Really scared about my future at this rate. Stock up on your rice and beans if you're worried about that stuff. If you want to be prepared for this, make sure you know what your cheap food options are. You know? Nice, I got the thing. Any news media saying this might be a little bad should be charged for treason. Yeah, like, legitimately, the downplay. You know how fucking, like, everybody who plays fighting games will downplay their character, or especially people who play the top tiers will like, downplay how good the top tier character is? That's like these news outlets with tariffs and how bad the tariffs will be. Is it, like, their job is to just be fucking tariff downplayers. You know? When anything is done by Trump or the class of, like, billionaires and business tycoons that support Trump, their job is to downplay anything bad that could happen as a result. Or in the case of the tariffs, for a day they just, like, didn't report on it entirely. Yeah, everybody loses with these tariffs. And the news media is like, I don't know, maybe it'll be fine. Who knows if he meant it. Although, like, I think that's mostly coming from the economists that really, really want it to, like, not go through because they understand the disastrous consequences that it could have. As much as other people in the social sciences, including myself, love to rag on economists for being, like, the most insular and elitist of the bunch or whatever, social scientists, they still are, and they are ultimately, you know, they're in the same boat. You know? Still Republican voters this month are like, yes, yes, yes. They'll see the egg prices and be, like, confused or something. And then that's the moment where it's like, that's because you spent all of your time focusing on brown people, you fucking moron. You absolute buffoon. You didn't pay attention to the guy jangling keys in front of you while he plundered the goddamn Treasury Department. Yeah, egg prices went up 2%, and they're like, well, time to be Hitler. Good heavens, would you look at the time and it's just Hitler? Okay. Now let's look at the retaliatory tariffs. Summary. Thank you, Reuters. Very cool. Canada puts 25% tariffs on $155 billion Canadian, so it's probably like, I don't know how much Americans, probably like 120-ish billion dollars of American goods. It is a lot. Because Canada is ultimately a lot smaller of an economy than America is. Sad that the economy can die any day now. Look, we knew this was going to happen. This is what right-wing parties do when they don't just collapse the government, you know? This is why it is imperative that nothing ever happens. This is why, like, you want to be the best-case scenario like the Netherlands. You want the fascists to just fucking, like, they get elected, they're so incompetent, they do absolutely nothing, and then every time they try to do something, they all disagree and the government collapses, and then there's another election. You know? You want that. So that everybody's like, oh, well, the fascists can't do fucking anything, you know? And they still look like massive losers. You know? Ben Shapiro destroyed the left wing of my plane. Time to become a fascist. That's true. Gonna take a little money out of my bank today. Not a bad idea. Especially because I believe there was an executive order or something where Trump Trump is going to get rid of the fucking Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. For those not familiar, if you have money in the bank, up to $250,000 is 100% guaranteed insured by the federal government. As long as the FDIC exists, there is no way in hell that you are losing that money, right? This was created after the Great Depression because everybody went to the bank to get their money when the stock market crashed. But then the banks were like, dog, we spent that money. It's not yours anymore. And then general outrage ensued, and one of the worst economic crashes that has ever happened in history followed. If the FDIC were gone, that would just happen again. So yeah, better to do that now while it's still guaranteed that your money is there for you to take out. Ben destroys the left, parentheses, by killing everybody. That's so true. Trudeau says 30 billion will take effect on Tuesday. Duties on the remaining 125 billion in 21 days. PM vows to work with provinces on non-tariff measures. So that's right. Canada didn't just do tariffs on the United States. They also said, like, okay, we're going to try to encourage domestic trade and industry within Canada so that we can partially, like, split the difference there, you know? What about Mexico? Oh, this article is just about Canada. Exports to the U.S. accounts for roughly 17.8% of Canadian gross domestic product. That's a lot. Kadarius, Tony, welcome to chat. I hate socialism, grr. Let's debate for 12 hours right now. I'll literally debate you right now. I'm so fucking drunk and ready. Well, if I debated a drunk person that hates socialism, it would be like I'm beating up a disabled child. So I think I will not. I think that would violate terms of service. Plus, I already explained you would get bodied. Nah. Especially because I could just put you in the hole for 5 minutes. Like, if you're drunk and come and be like, I'm debating you. Okay. Like, what is there even to debate? You don't believe in anything. You're just drunk. Go home. You're fucking drunk. Maybe you are home already. Either way, log off. You're drunk. Go talk to Pol Pot? Oh, wait, you can't? Yeah, the motherfucker's dead. What are you talking about? That'd be like if I tried to come at you like, oh, go talk to Hitler. Oh, wait, you can't. He killed himself. I'm not gonna lie, that actually, maybe that would go hard. I don't know. We'll debate about Pol Pot and Mandela. Let's talk about nuclear energy. Let's not. I think I'm just going to ignore you. You can stay here, but you're not terribly relevant to the current discussion, so I will continue talking about tariffs. I was wondering, we saw the article about the Canadian, like, countermeasures and stuff, and they were like, yeah, we're going to do also a 25% tariff, but in addition to that, we're, like, encouraging domestic production and industry and stuff. I wonder if Mexico did something similar. I know Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, is based as fuck and has been focusing on, like, environmental sustainability projects and affordable housing in Mexico. Two things that would make me cream myself if they were done in the United States. Because, you know, people's lives would get better, and I think that's pretty based, actually. But I don't know if Mexico also did some countermeasures that aren't tariffs, like if they're trying to double up on the amount of domestic projects they're also doing, or if it's just the 25%. Trump's the dumbest person to ever exist. His followers will begin saying it's patriotic to pay higher prices. That's possible. It's entirely possible. We were talking about that earlier. That people will be like, it's good that prices are higher, actually. Or they'll do the thing where it's like, eggs are $2 more expensive. Good heavens, would you look at the time? I must become Hitler. It is imperative. You know? But it's also very possible that, like, the unavoidable impact of these tariffs like will hit people hard enough that even if they're really, really pro-Trump, they get super frustrated, and they like that becomes something that the right wing and the media apparatus can't easily deflect, right? Like a lot of the anti-immigrant sentiment is artificially generated as a way to get the working class to fight amongst itself. A lot of the most fervent anti-immigrant people are themselves working class, and the billionaires are like, yes, now that they're all fighting each other, we can just hire immigrant workers, pay them absolutely shit wages, and they're not going to unionize, and like you know, because they're fighting each other, like we win no matter what, you know. Think right-wing media is too aligned for it to matter? Maybe. What I was saying is that, like, even though obviously a lot of the media is sort of like bought and paid for in that respect, it's possible that this hurts, the tariffs hurt in a way that is so direct and unavoidable and unattributable to anything other than Trump and his oligarch buddies, that like they start getting frustrated towards Trump and his buddies. And that represents an opportunity to be like, yes, okay, finally, we can talk about how bad they've been fucking you and all the rest of us this entire time, you know? And then maybe something real starts happening. But either way, anything that does happen is going to probably take a long time, so this is going to hurt for a while. Not as optimistic, but I really hope that's the case. I think it's more likely they find a way to blame it on immigration and DEI. That's also possible. You know, and people who know me know, you know, my track record for predictions has been mixed. You know, and I don't always feel comfortable predicting stuff unless I feel like the outcome based on like the circumstances at play leads so obviously to like one thing specifically that's like, okay, yeah, obviously this means this, you know. But because of how much dust is being kicked up by the tariffs and how much economic turmoil and instability is going to be generated, genuinely, it is hard for me to say what is going to happen, because that's kind of what economic turmoil and instability means. It means it's like, you know, times are very uncertain. But you know, the reactionary, the right wing do be right winging. They do be blaming shit on immigrants and black people. I mean, literally, like there were 2 plane crashes in the past week. You know, like the fucking the one at DC Reagan National Airport, and then one in Philly, and then both times the 3 actually. Oh shit! Another plane, Mr. President. Another plane has fucking fallen out of the sky and killed everyone. And like each time the right wingers were all like, they went on social media and they're like, yeah, this is because of black people and DEI and shit. There's a helicopter in the Philippines that crashed yesterday. Okay, well, we're counting American plane crashes here. Specifically because of all the deregulation and shit that's been happening in the aviation industry. Yeah, he literally, like, after he gutted the Aviation Safety Advisory Committee, like, bro literally said, I will delete aviation safety, press the delete aviation safety button, and then immediately the consequences of deleting aviation safety were felt in the form of 2 consecutive plane crashes. He also signed an executive order to blame it on DEI. Yeah, I do remember that, too. Truly one of the presidents of all time. Here, Mexico counter tariffs? I wonder if I can find details on that. Mexico, okay. Independent is talking about Mexico and Canada hit back. I wonder if they'll say anything about Mexico particularly. The please. Mexico and Canada both announced retaliatory tariffs. Scheinbaum said she was doing Plan B, which includes tariff and non-tariff measures in defense of Mexico's interests. Okay, so there is some non-tariff stuff. We do not want confrontation. We want collaboration. She, according to the Mexican president, and I have no reason to disbelieve that. Economic confrontation is usually not good. It doesn't say that much about what else Mexico is doing to address the effects, or to react to the effects of American tariffs. I don't know if I don't know if information about that is like public or something. Even Pierre Poilievre has spoken out against the tariffs. Yeah, that's true. I did see that, like, even the Canadian Conservatives, which were like known for being MAGA light, like they're known for being very similar to the MAGA movement. Even they're not happy with these tariffs because they're actual, like, Canadian nationalists, right? Like they like, yes, I love Canada. I love all Canadian things. And that predictably includes a prosperous Canadian economy and Canadian economic interests and stuff. So, like, when America's like, nah, fuck Canada in particular, they're mad. You know? A lot of the nationalistic sentiment among both the right, like, among the foot soldiers of the right wing and among the ruling class on the right is, like, very manufactured. It's not as real as other countries' nationalism, you know? So, like, that nationalism in America a lot of times is just a mask, and it can be a mask in other countries as well, but it basically only functions as a mask to, like, enable the billionaire class and whatever, you know? Whereas, like, the nationalism in Canada and other countries is real enough that people will genuinely get mad at you. They'll actually get mad at you if you make fun of their country, you know? Like, I've had this interaction with various people both in chat and outside of chat several times, you know, to this effect. Nobody cares when you dunk on America, but when you dunk on their country, it gets personal. You know? What was happening? I'm in the shower now, so I can't hear you over the water when it's on. Rewind the VOD. Wait, you can't do that. This is Twitch. We're talking about nationalism, how even the Canadian Conservatives aren't happy with these tariffs. And I also couldn't find anything about the other measures that Mexico are taking, that Mexico is taking, aside from the fact that they are doing stuff that isn't just tariffs. Hopefully I can find that. Smart people realizing that tariffs are not a good idea. What a shock. Yeah, imagine it. What a fucking world. Tariff countermeasures? What is maybe USA Today or something? Apparently Mexico is coordinating with Canada in response to the tariffs. Yeah, that's right. I saw that as this news was breaking. Cause like fucking Mexico and Canada are still trading partners with each other. It just, the United States just decided to say fuck you in particular to Canada, Mexico, and China are three of our biggest trade partners, and the US was just like, I have a great idea. What if we completely alienate them? So drunk I'm gonna go yell at my neighbors and pretend something bad is happening? What? Don't do that. Or do. I'm not the boss of you, but I feel like that would be ill-advised. On tariff measures. Okay, so they're including... So the USA Today is also including the quote from Claudia Scheinbaum that, oh yeah, Mexico is going to do tariffs and, like, non-tariff stuff to counter these tariffs. But they haven't included what those are. Which makes me think that maybe the American news outlets don't have them, or, like, I don't know, too lazy to report them or something. I don't know. People will hear it on the news when the banks deny people to get their money back. That's true. That's like one of those ways that people would be unavoidably hurt. Like if they get rid of the FDIC. You're gonna go yell fire? Yeah, wait, no, don't do that. Not if there's an actual fire. Don't commit arson! Please? Like, maybe if I ask nicely, please don't? That would be bad. The implication is that, haha, what if I made the fire, I think. At least that's what I took from that. There's not one yet? Nah, don't do that. What if we didn't? But we made a really, really fucking convincing misinformation narrative that there's a fire. Not like by yelling fire or anything, but like you gaslight them really hard into believing that there was like a bushfire right outside of their window that was like really small and went away. That would be funny, I think. I'll just go take a nap. That's probably a better idea than what any of us were saying. Yeah, never mind the shit that I said about psychologically manipulating your neighbors to believe that there was a fire, but it's okay now. For the sake of it would be funny. You should probably take a nap. That'd probably be better for you. And then when you wake up, you can say, yeah, I had the weirdest experience. A streamer told me not to commit arson, but then to go and convince my neighbors that I committed arson. I'll stop. Go take a nap. Now I sound drunk. Are you mad at Bill Maher? Probably. I mean, he's simultaneously, like, contemptible and, like, fucking, really, really weird and, like, creepy. You know? So, if I were to see a clip, like, I don't exist in the constant brain state of being mad at Bill Maher, but any given clip that I see of him has a very high probability to make me mad at him because, like, he's a dishonest shit. So yeah, probably. You mad at Anna Kasparian and Jank? Yeah. I like, for some of these people, I kind of stopped being mad. It was like, well, they're just fucking grifters and like useless weirdos, you know? But yeah, it was genuinely like frustrating and angering when they started drifting right, because TYT had been like an online progressive news media outlet, one of the biggest for a long time. And then they just fucking started getting their bills paid for like by like some rich weird, like, I don't know, Peter Thiel or whoever it was that gave them a bunch of investment money. And then they started like moving to the right, and like, yeah, that was pretty maddening. Made me a little bit mad. But there was good content to be had, so you know, that's sometimes, you know, you get a little silver lining out of that. Bill Maher comes off as a creepy old liberal, and that's probably because he is a creepy old liberal. Oh, okay, I died. Feel sorry for grifters in the future. What's that money gonna do for you now? Yeah, true. It is really, like, weird and, like, in a way kind of a contradiction to see grifters take all this money now and, like, alienate everybody who they've ever been, like, political companions with. And then, like, sure, you have all this money now, but what happens when the grift dries up? You've, like, burned all your connections, you've burned all your credibility, and you've, like, you know, you've basically just become part of this fucking right-wing We Are Legion of people that are like, hey, this is why I left the left, and all of them don't actually believe anything and are so dishonest and untrustworthy that they, like, can't get a job outside of the right-wing grift media sphere anymore. Like, what happens when that grift sphere isn't there? You know, you just fucking, I don't know. You go work a wage job, I guess. I don't know. Like the rest of us. Everyone does their best to avoid putting the fries in the bag. That's true. That's true. Except for the people putting the fries in the bag. They're trying to get a union, and I support them. There is absolutely no shame in this world about having a job where you're putting the fries in the bag. I volunteer to do that shit. I go down to the food bank damn near every week and just spend like 2 hours putting raw chicken in a bag for somebody to eat later. I don't know. Presumably they cook it first. That it'd be weird if they didn't. But no, like whatever job you do, like wage jobs, there's a weird notion that like, oh, that's a job for the poors, you know? It's like, no, dude, work is work. What I care about is that they're being fucking paid appropriately and like compensated enough to afford rent and electricity and water and all that shit, you know? And they're not. I want to be able to look at a McDonald's cashier and like the fry cook and be like, that person's making enough to make rent. They're earning enough to have a life outside of this job at McDonald's that doesn't involve them like constantly shitting themselves over like going into debt or whatever. You know? In the future, we can be a country that is proud to put the fries in the bag. That's what I'm saying. Fast food workers can't be paid well. They barely get any money. Otherwise, you shouldn't stay in that job. Teacher told me one time, that teacher is probably not very smart. You'd be surprised the kind of people that get jobs as like school teachers and shit. The old contempt for those who highlight false prophets who claim to be righteous but are really apostates, leading people down a path of damnation. Hello? Jesus Christ is in my chat for some reason. Fucking bro got possessed by the Holy Spirit. Yeah, I do hold a very large degree of contempt for people who weaponize these sort of messianic narratives in a very opportunistic fashion to basically like convince people to act like reliably against their own interests. A lot of the religious right wing has been doing like they've been all about doing that. You know, fucking Kenneth Copeland. God wants me to have a private jet to spread his good gospel or some shit, and it like his supporters are anywhere from like dirt poor to middle class, and then like he's living it up. Yeah, those people occupy a special place of burning contempt and hatred in my heart, you know, I must say. You know, that shit's pretty bad. Why are language arts teachers so evil? My first language art teacher was racist. My second was anti-working class. Two things. Number one, you might have got just like the shit end of the draw there. But then number two, you know, they might have just been a French person and a German person. Like, I don't know. I thought art teachers were more likely to be left-wing, lol. Teachers generally, relative to certain other professions, are more likely to be left-wing because you do have to have a certain level of education in the social sciences to be a teacher, but it's not an absolute thing. It's a matter of like ratios and percentages, right? So you get a lot of right-wing nutballs that are teachers. Do you consider yourself a prophet, or do you practice Hinduism? Neither. I consider myself to be just a dude, a guy, I suppose. And I'm very atheistic. I don't believe in a higher spiritual power. Just a healthy atheist? Yeah. Look, I respect the right of people to have whatever religious like beliefs that they want or whatever. I'm playing Mario Kart, can't you see? Look, I do not in any way object to having this fucking kind of conversation while I'm playing Mario Kart, you know? Like, that's the bread and butter of this stream. The race one was so mad all the time, her face was permanently stuck as a frowning face from a fish. That is so fucking funny. You're looking to become a prophet tomorrow. Can you become a prophet soon? No promises, but if you pay me all of your life savings, I'll consider it. Don't actually. Don't do that. You're still drunk. Don't pay me any money. Hey, how some people treat atheism as an attack against their religion. In a way, it kind of is, but it's weird. It is weird to me that people get like grievously personal offended when another person is an atheist. Like, fucking, you believe in a god and I don't. Like, what the fuck is so offensive about that? You know? Like, inherently, it shouldn't be so offensive of a concept, right? What I'm saying is Reddit atheists are the most persecuted minority. Thank you. This is high-level political analysis. I hate religious imperialism. Yeah, it is. Religion has been an engine of, like, empire throughout history. Less so lately than before, but it still is very active at an institutional level as, like, part of that, you know? Obviously, I would mention Christianity in reference to this because that's the society for which I have reference. You know, America and its historical predecessors in Europe and stuff like that. You know, oh, I didn't dodge it. But like the institution of religion being hierarchical is a way of instilling certain social behaviors in people, and because these organizations are hierarchical, because they exist as a very top-down thing, and because they've existed in very top-down societies, that like functionally it's a way to keep the peasants in line and to justify the action of the state. You're gonna do a land acknowledgement soon. Fuck it, we'll do a land acknowledgement. I acknowledge that my house was built on stolen Native American land, like, you know, the rest of this country. And you know, I am personally sorry. I will personally apologize to whatever the fuck tribe was living here before me, because there were a lot of fucking tribes here. They're like, holy shit, there were so many. My B, except not my B personally. I didn't have anything to do with that shit. That's not on me. But that does suck, and I'm sorry. There you go. Land acknowledgement. That's why I sang about Noxus. I don't reject the idea of a deity, just I don't believe one would even... They would even notice one single planet, some random star system, a random galaxy out of the trillions in the universe. Yeah, if like... If there's, like, if there's some weird future where, like, we discover these fucking eldritch elder gods or whatever that roam the universe just sort of going along, I like, you know... I don't think they would exist in any comprehensible way to like if we discovered something of that scale that had that kind of power. I think that it would just be an existence at a fundamentally different scale than what we are capable of like putting into any existing religious narrative, right? Like, you know how bigger animals move slower than smaller animals, like universally? You know, like an elephant will not move as quickly, even though they can, you know, they can run pretty fast, but like it'll look like they're moving a lot slower than like if a human moved their limbs, because their limbs are so much larger and shit. Yeah, because of metabolism and whatever. If we found like a being with that kind of power, it would be a bit like that. You know, like imagine the implications of discovering a fucking life form that is the size of an entire galactic supercluster, and like imagine how imperceptible the movement would be, even if it was moving like near the speed of light, you know. But I don't even know if we're gonna like if we'll be around for long enough to see if anything like that exists. I don't know for sure that anything like that does or could exist. And even if it did exist, I don't know if you could call it a god, because, like, you know, the social concept of a god is a pretty well-defined thing. You know, even if it's not the Judaic, you know, Abrahamic god that is all benevolent and whatever, and completely all-powerful and whatnot, you know, it is definitely a thing that exists and in the social lexicon, and that wouldn't easily be replicable in a, like, outside of basically our own imagination, if that makes sense. Also, I might have been yeah, I was gonna say, I might have been tripping that looked like two blue shells. So either somebody is cheating, or there's like a glitch where it looked somebody like fired a blue shell, but the server didn't quite catch it the first time or something. Yeah, they wouldn't even perceive time the same way that we do. We might not even be able to perceive their existence because they don't exist in like the fucking third dimension, whatever the fuck. It happens sometimes when the item limiter is modified. Oh, 2 people can occasionally get blues. Okay, that might have been what happened. Then I'd be willing to bet it was like, oh yeah, 2 people got a blue shell at the same time and like threw it at the same time. I still can't find anything about these counter tariffs that Mexico is doing. Poses counter tariffs. Here, hold on. Mexico economic countermeasures. Demon of Dong. Lol. Welcome to chat. Lol. Many such cases. If a deity does exist, can't even perceive our existence, probably. Yeah, and we can't perceive it. Most likely. Anyway. That's a lot of big boy talk about gods and shit. Let's get back to the regularly scheduled programming. Politics. As opposed to, you know, that's not big boy talk. How am I hanging on to this for so long? We over this way? Yes. No, I'm not going to be able to... Oh, no, I didn't have enough mega to take a shortcut. I realized it was a little bit too late. Well, it's fine. I'm still in second. Have you seen they're trying to force religion in schools again? Yes, this is part of the right-wing playbook. This is, like... The right wing legitimately has an ideological bias against education. This is kind of the origin of what I was talking about with the whole, like... us making smart arguments instead of arguing that we're smart. They hate smart people. You know? They hate being smart. You have to be smart in a way that makes them think that you're just as dumb as them. Because on some level, we all are. But yeah, the right, because of the bias towards capital, they have like a bias against education, public education particularly as well. And one of the ways that they act on that is they try to defund public schools by any means available to them. And one such means is to funnel money, public money, out of those schools and into private institutions that have their own ideological agendas potentially and that aren't standardized and potentially provide like a worse quality of education, or in most cases that have education locked behind a sort of a paywall of school dues and school fees that everybody can't afford to pay. That's why the public school system exists in the first place, so everybody can get an education as opposed to just the kids of wealthy families. You know, religious schools are a way to both do that and make people really dumb by indoctrinating them into like reactionary religious narratives from a young age. So it's like it's a 2-for-1 for Republicans, or even a 3-for-1, because they also get to chip away at what remains of the education system, the public education system, you know, while encouraging wealth disparity and idiocy, you know. Stop you right there. People learn different things that make them smarter. We're not all the same all the time. Yeah, I know. Feels like we're about to enter the dark age. Yeah, a little bit. Little bit. That guy's going backwards. What the hell? Little bit. I got hella messages on Discord. Oh? One of the homies messaged me. As soon as the trans people are gone, they're gonna be like, "Okay, gays, it's your turn." Yeah, it's classic divide and conquer shit. All of the LGB alliance, like LGB drop the T and whatever, that was all like, it's all blatantly a psyop orchestrated by the right, the far right, to pick off trans people, the most vulnerable element, so that the entire group of the queer community is made weaker. Because if you have the entire queer community and queer rights movement, which encompasses more than just queer people, standing behind trans people, the right doesn't stand a chance. But if you convince some segment of the queer movement to jettison trans people, then the whole movement is weaker, as are trans people. You know? It's blatantly obvious too, because the same reactionary logic that they use on trans people is equally applicable to every other kind of person in the queer community. Republicans are like, you're forcing LGBT in school. I'm like, yeah, so. A lot of times when they say that, what they're really communicating there is that they don't like that kids get to express themselves freely at school more so than at home, because a lot of conservatives fundamentally just view children as chattel property. They view them as their own slaves pretty much until they turn 18, in which case they get kicked out of the house or disown their parents or some shit like that. Such as a not too uncommon occurrence in conservative households where the kids have like a substantial difference of identity from the parents or whatever. I panicked there. Everything they said about trans people is the same shit that they said about gay people in the 80s. Yeah, it's the same rhetoric, and it's just as dumb now and just as reactionary now as it was then. Or just as, like, malicious, you know? Like, particularly when they talk about like queerness in schools or whatever. Number one, because they hate public education, they can use that as an excuse to defund schools more, which they really like. You know, the right-wing politicians and such. That's one thing. So the capital class will kind of roll with it because it is an opportunity to further their interests. But then for two, again, a lot of the right wing just views children as property and less than human. And so if kids are able to express themselves freely at school, they might, find that they have certain preferences for people. They're like, I like boys. I like girls. I like everybody. They're pretty. I like them. Like, legitimately, that's the kind of expression that kids would be engaging in at school or like, would be, like, allowed to express, basically, that they potentially wouldn't be able to at home. And conservatives want to be able to beat their kids for being gay, basically. They want to beat them into being straight, because they believe that, like, it's a disease or something, And like I said earlier, when I was talking about blank slate, technically you could use the social contagion argument for everything, right? Being gay is not innate, nor is being straight. You learn and develop preferences as you grow according to both, genetic predispositions or whatever, as well as things that you're exposed to in your environment, Conservatives just believe that the only thing that's a social contagion is being gay or trans, and that being straight is like God ordained and baked into your DNA or whatever, Like, they can't stand a world where people get to actually choose who they are outside of some autocratic authority, Especially not for kids. Damn. It's a hard time being in high school. Middle school, the only anarchist? Yeah, true. Anarchist, the most oppressed minority. No! I'm talking shit and getting hit. I drove right into that. Look away, everybody. This is not top-tier gameplay anymore. Alright. I remember on a forum I'm now banned from, I was talking about politics and someone said how it's not right, queerness is taught so early in schools because her daughter was saying she had a girlfriend, they were going to get married, etc., etc. Then when they had the argument, she was upset, and I was like, yeah, don't kids do that with the opposite sex all the time as well? Yeah, true. Yeah, it's perfectly normal behavior for kids to do that, Like, I have a boyfriend, I have a girlfriend, I have a friend. Pretty normal thing, honestly. And if God made everyone treat them, why am I gay? They would just say that you're not actually gay. That's it. That's part of the opiate of the masses shit. They would, and like that underlying logic that like, oh, being gay is like an aberration or whatever from the norm. They would be like, no, God made you straight. You became gay or some shit like that. Like, whatever, just let kids experiment. It's not hurting anyone. Yeah, but it hurts conservatives' feelings, and they don't get to be abusive parents, so You know, is it one versus the other? Who can say? Average news outlet. Found a funny house. Similar reality is becoming like the Owl House without the magic. I don't understand what you're saying there. This will be the last race, I think. Parents want to abuse their grandchildren that don't even exist yet. Yeah, probably. Although with grandparents, they don't have as direct access to grandkids. So they have to make sure that their kids are properly indoctrinated or whatever. And of course, it sounds like I'm ascribing a lot of active intent. A lot of conservatives are just really unimaginative, and like, there's some generational abuse going on there. That's crazy. Actually caught up to that green shell. Dang. There's also complaining about a child, AMAB kid who identified as a girl, wore dresses. It's like, so fucking what? Gendered clothes are social construct anyway. I remember boys wearing dresses on fancy dress days and shit at school. It's not a big deal. Yeah, there are guys that'll wear dresses like as a joke or whatever. Like, haha, wouldn't it be funny if I like wore women's clothes and whatever? And like, for cis guys, sometimes it's a joke. But if somebody likes wearing dresses, like, let him wear a dress, you know. But in this case, it sounds like this kid was a trans girl, and the parent just didn't like that there was a trans girl. Like, number one, what the fuck business of that is yours? Number two, it's not even your kid, you know? Parents obviously are going to take interest in their own kid, but I think it speaks to a deep level of insecurity and authoritarian, like, weak-mindedness that you're so insecure about your own, like, parental ideology that you are concerned when somebody else's kid deviates from it because you perceive that as a threat to what you're teaching your child. You know? Walking towards the bank for proof. Oh yeah, that's right. You said you were gonna get like money out of the bank and stuff. Yeah. Before I go, I really do want to try and find the Mexican like countermeasures that they're doing. Mexico tariffs, countermeasures. Al Jazeera, maybe? I don't know. Al Jazeera does good stuff. Let's search for Mexico. Huh? Let's see. File at the WTO. Oh, Canada's actually going to submit a legal challenge against these tariffs, which will be interesting. Violation of trade commitments that the U.S. has taken. I don't know if that's going to hold up, but it is good that they're, like, not taking any of this lying down. Yeah. Yeah, do it. It's time. Immediately ordered retaliatory tariffs. Oh, let's see. Trump also did tariffs in his first term. Some may remember that, some may not. They were disastrous then, too. We will win. How? Okay, here we go. How will Mexico respond? Preparing possible tariffs on imports. And, what is this? What? That just says counter tariffs. Okay, whatever. And before they dig up some treaty from, like, the 1850s that busts the tariffs wide open. Well, they probably won't have to go as far as the 1850s. There are much more recent trade agreements between Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. Canada, U.S., Mexico, the CUM alliance, if you will. They wouldn't have to go back that far. Yeah, the CUM union. We need to form. All right, listen. Donald Trump, when he said NAFTA was bad, he might have been cooking. We need to form a new trade union, a much better trade union. NAFTA, it was horrible. It was a mistake. It was a disaster. Cost us a lot of American jobs. A lot of American jobs. A lot of manufacturing. A lot of auto jobs. They're outsourcing it all to Mexico, to Canada, to China. They're outsourcing all the labor. That's not part of NAFTA, but it doesn't matter. Mexico is. So we're making NAFTA 2. We're not going to call it the same thing. We're going to focus on the workers, the American workers, the American industry, the manufacturing. It's going to be beautiful. It'll be Canada, the United States, and Mexico. Even though we love to put America first, don't we, folks? We're Americans, except for Xylan and Cryoraptor. We love the America first, but it's a much more beautiful acronym if you put Canada first. Because then we call it the Come Together Agreement. The Come Union. The United States of Come. It'll be bigger. It'll be better. The economy will be so good. You'll be so tired of all this, of all this winning. You'll be so tired of the Come Agreement. Alright. Next Mario Kart will be forced to rename Rainbow Road to Woke Road. That's so true. They made Mario Kart woke. Clip? Yeah, clip the hell out of that. Put it on all the news outlets. Man invents cum. Okay. I really want to find... Oh, yeah, okay, here we go. Mexico's official response to U.S. tariffs muted so far. Canada... Okay, so Canada has been more vocal so far. So it seems like Mexico is actually playing what they're doing kind of close to the chest. That makes sense if I couldn't find anything on what else they were doing aside from those tariffs. I guess if anything, what they would be doing would just be kind of like a continuation of their own current economic projects, right? Like, it might be that the only new thing here is the tariffs, because Mexico may have been trying to develop itself internally for a while now. Like, in both in AMLO's presidency and now that Claudia Sheinbaum is the president, they've been focusing a lot on ecological development, on affordable housing development, on fighting the cartels and stuff. So it's possible they've announced these other programs previously, and they're just going to keep rolling with those into their counter tariffs. I don't know. It's also possible that they do have something new planned and they haven't revealed it yet. But I can't really speak to that. Either way, I am about finished with stream now that I have channeled Donald Trump and I have implanted the idea through the morphogenetic field. I've implanted that idea in his mind of inventing the CUM union, the cum union, even better than NAFTA. And Lumiru is live. I see. Merrick is live. Merrick, you know what? I follow Merrick DeVille. She's very cool. But she's not live very often when I am. So I'm gonna raid her. Go say hi. Raid. Merrick DeVille. There you go. I'll see you guys next time. I still do, despite me crashing out the latter half of last week and not streaming as all this shit was going down and waiting to today. I do want to stream more frequently because I enjoy these. I'll see you next time, whenever that is. Bye. All right.